My name is Renee, and I'm an addict, an action junkie, a woman who regularly sacrifices her way of being for the reliable high of doing. Being willing to name my addiction was my first real step towards recovery. A recovery I'm definitely still on, but a recovery deeply worth pursuing. Up until a few years ago, I convinced myself I had it pretty well together. A strong marriage, 2 great kids, enriching and fun friendships, and a fulfilling career. Yet most days, I still felt empty, feeling that who I was, what I had, and what I'd done was not yet enough. So I chased more. I did more. But more did not settle my soul, did not open my heart, did not strengthen my relationships. For the most part, more resulted in unhealthy stress, greater responsibility, and physical exhaustion. More meant less time with the people in my life that mattered most. More ultimately meant a loss of my true sense of self and self-worth. I remember the first time I saw myself in my addiction. It was 2014, and one morning while eating breakfast, my spoon started clattering against my cereal bowl. I developed a tremor in my hand. And a few days later, I noticed myself speaking with a stutter. I called my doctor, and she scheduled an MRI. She was worried about multiple sclerosis. She shared that my gender and age bracket put me in the high-risk patient profile. Not a recognition any of us want, but there it was. I had been working crazy hours, which included traveling and getting way too little sleep. On most days, I found it difficult to breathe, to take that full, deep breath that resets your nervous system when you need it most. I also felt trapped by my drive to keep doing, and yet at that time in my life, helpless to change it. Thankfully, my diagnosis was not multiple sclerosis, it was stress. I had basically done this to myself. The possibility of having a life-changing disease was definitely an eye-opener. While I didn't have MS, I knew that I had been gifted a clear warning sign. It was time for me to face my addiction and acknowledge the negative impact all my years of doing was having on my health and on my relationships. Acknowledging my addiction was necessary, but not enough. I needed to rethink and reframe my entire concept of doing. I needed to shift my belief structure about what it looked like to contribute, to be seen and acknowledged, not just for what I did, but for who I was. And that may sound easy for some. For me, it was anything but easy. Not long after my health scare, I made one huge change. In 2015, I left my senior leadership role in biotech to pursue work that would fill my soul and sustain me without needing to chase that next doing fix. My progress was slow. Most days, I was still chasing the reliable high I got from my doing life. Flash forward to January 2017, I was attending a women's retreat with my daughter on the coast of California. And it was the closing session on Sunday morning, and the women were being invited into the circle to share the impact that the weekend could have on their lives. Most of the women are speaking up, including my young daughter, and I am not. And my daughter is prodding me with her eyes from the other side of the room to share. She wants me to be the mom she knows, the one who does without exception. But in that moment, maybe for the first time so clearly, I heard a wiser, more authentic voice. And she said, stay put, sit, observe, receive. A few seconds later, a much more familiar voice came onto the scene, and she said, why are you here if you don't step into the circle? Who are you if you're not contributing? There they were, these two competing voices battling it out within me. In the end, I had to physically leave the room. And it may not seem like that significant of a moment, but somehow I knew it was. And as I looked out at the ocean, I reflected on just how many times this battle had ensued in my life. How many times this drive in me to do, to effort, to contribute, how much it had ruled me in so many ways. And how few times I had given myself permission to honor that small but important moment we are almost always given before taking action, to pause and decide, to do or not to do. And I started thinking, wow, imagine all the effort I have put into the world. Imagine all the things that I've done that have not been authentic, because they did not come from a deeper place of knowing that this is what was even needed or what I even wanted to do. And as a leader for the last 25 years and a parent for the last 15 years, how much had my doing life influenced the doing life in others? And what had they sacrificed as a result? My decision to not step into the circle that morning honored a quieter voice in me, a voice that I have ignored for so much of my life, a voice that said, you don't have to do this. And that one small win gave me hope. Hope that I could actually practice this in my life more regularly. And what if one of the choices I could make for myself going forward was to do nothing? To take authentic inaction. Two words that came into my consciousness that morning as I looked out at the Pacific Ocean. So, what is authentic inaction? Authentic inaction is first and foremost a practice. It's a practice of slowing down, being with, and letting go of our bias towards action. Authentic inaction is not a choice between being and doing. It is about bringing the two into harmony. Authentic inaction is found in those small but important moments in our day-to-day lives where we can, and yet rarely do, connect who we are with what we do. Authentic inaction invites us to consciously and resourcefully question our dominant culture of constantly doing, achieving, and improving. It allows us to live a less productive life, a life that acknowledges the limits of our time, our attention, and our energy, but in return, brings into sharper focus what it is we are truly meant to do. My own 3 crucible moments, my tremor, not leaving my corporate life, and not stepping into the circle that morning, finally convinced me that I could heal from my addiction. While I can still easily be drawn in by my need to do, I have stayed on my path, exploring this concept I've named authentic inaction. I've also put on my researcher hat and curiously but painfully witnessed it all around me. I am definitely an action junkie, but so are many of the people I spend my life with. Why do they choose to do, often at the expense of their being? What is their addiction about? Here are 5 doers I've identified and come to know, and in some ways, find myself in each of them. As I'm describing the doers, see if you resonate with one or more of them, or know someone in your life who might. The first is the achieving doer. They do to be recognized and build up their sense of self. They have likely always been acknowledged for their ability to get things done. So what they achieve is directly connected to their self-worth. The second is the avoiding doer. They do to avoid being confronted with whatever might be more important or more difficult. And as they keep themselves occupied with tasks, they avoid facing the bigger questions and challenges in life. The third is the controlling doer. They do, well, because they want it done and don't often want to wait for other people to do it. And while that makes them feel in control, that same control can push others away, leaving them feeling alone and unsupported. The fourth is the perfecting doer. They do because, well, they don't think anyone else can do it quite as well as them. Their standards often result in over-engineering and over-efforting, and yet, no matter how well something is done, it still never quite feels good enough. And the fifth is the supporting doer. They do for others and are really good at it. Doing makes them feel needed, but also obligated. And when they do too much without expecting anything in return, they end up feeling resentful and unappreciated. All doers share commitments, deadlines, events, projects, things we authentically want to do, and others we feel we have to do. But we still have the freedom to choose whether we become action addicts, whether we have our doing life or it has us. So how does authentic inaction work? How can you take this practice out into your own life? If you resonate with any of the doer descriptions, here are 4 steps I'm recommending to practice this in your own life, to explore this concept in your own life. Step 1 is simply about being aware. It's that moment when we look at ourselves in the mirror and say, I am an action junkie. Without first becoming aware of the addiction and how it's playing out in our lives, we're helpless to change it. No different than any other addiction. The second step is the adoption of 3 possibly new beliefs. The first belief is that our addiction to doing is not emotionally and physically healthy. It's not serving us or anyone else in our life that loves us. The second belief is around authenticity, which is not just about knowing who we are, but understanding how what we do, the actions we take, communicate to the world who we are more vividly than most anything else. And the third belief is a rejection of the lie that says, do more, it is not yet enough. Step 3 of 4 is sitting with the question, who am I and therefore what am I to do? If we stay with this question long enough, sit with it in our daily life, the answers will come. Start simply. Begin by making a list about what inspires you, what depletes you, what slowly sucks the soul out of your body. Look for themes. Look for the obvious. Look for the outliers. Do you host a holiday dinner every year but don't enjoy it? Do you raise your hand at work to take on a new project that you don't really want to do or realistically have the time for? Do you commit to meeting a friend early in the morning for a workout when what you really want and need is to sleep in? Once our patterns and reasons for doing become clear and we are fully committed to connecting who we are with what we do, when a moment arises for us to say yes or to say no, to do or not to do, we will make the right choice. Our action or inaction will be authentic. And the final step, step 4, is being willing to fail and choose again. We have to accept that in many circumstances, we won't hear or listen to our more authentic voice. That familiar pattern of saying yes, even when we mean no, may win. And when it does, pause. Take a deep breath. be willing to sit with the discomfort that comes when we are at risk yet again of taking another action that does not line up with who we truly are. And next time, choose again. Being an action junkie is an addiction, but like other addictions, recovery is possible. When we begin to undo the doing in our own do-crazy worlds, we begin living a healthier and more authentic life. My hope in my own life is to stay committed to my recovery, to wholeheartedly believe that who I am, what I have, and what I've done is already enough. My hope for those of you listening and my invitation is to feel inspired and equipped to take your own first step with authentic inaction. Thank you.